All right. I am with Mr. Vince. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. It's been, I think it's actually, this is what, our 10th attempt, and we finally
Exactly.
got our 10th attempt to make it work. So I'm happy to be here.
It's so nice. Not that it's nice, but it's so interesting how you would try to get hold of people, and it's about finding if they are available at certain days, and you're like, okay, so what time? So for me, it's also teaching me the professional people skills. Because people skills, maybe you can just learn one or two, but just trying to be professional, being here on time and all that stuff. And I know, one guy who's always on time. So when I came here, I'm telling my wife, Vince is always gonna be here on time. And I'm like, okay, let me just find out. So at least I beat you on.
Yes. Today you beat me. Well, you did say that you're gonna go home and come back. So I was waiting for you to say, I'm now here. Or you're leaving home.
Yeah.
In this world that we're living in right now, professionalism is way to go, because if you really look at it, there's so many graduates that are there, and in terms of people who got the skill, people have the skill. So it's now all to do with your character, your attitude, and your professionalism, and how you deal with people. So all of that comes into play. So I commend you for being professional.
I know Vincent is very biased because I'm a very good friend of his. So I just want you to introduce yourself. What do you do, so that everyone can just understand? Okay, what this is Vincent. We know we heard that this is Vincent, but just want to know. Okay, what does Vincent do? Then I can get to all the questions that I want to ask you.
So every time when I get people asking me that question, my favorite go-to answer is I make people lazy. That's my job description. So if you can think of anything that would make you lazy, that's my job description. What do I say that? I mean, if you look at the world that we're living in now, it's more involved in a lot of technology, a lot of people trying to be as comfortable as possible. So a lot of people come and say, listen, we want this, but we don't want to work for it. And then I make them lazy.
So just to make someone understand, in terms of the context, because I heard you say that that's where we are. We're in the system where everyone wants to be, it's like a microwave.
Exactly.
They call it a microwave generation.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
but I just want you to just explain, maybe in detail, what do you mean when you say you make people lazy? Because may I have inside information?
Yes,
I don't want to do spoiler.
Yes. And obviously your guests don't have. So basically, the profession that I'm in, it's called home automation systems technology.
Yep.
So it sounds like a mouthful of words, but basically it's not. It's a combination of electronics, engineering, and electrical combined together to achieve a goal to make an individual's life a little bit easier. Hence, the lazy part comes in. So I can give you maybe, say, for example, I'll give you one example to say, in this world that we live in now, you have people who are coming from work, like say our new millenniums or a young generation where we love our music so much. So for example, when you call me and say, Vincent, I want to make sure that I have the best experience of music in my house, it's then my job to go and see what you have in your house, or to recommend what to put in your house, to the best of my ability, in terms of making sure that your house has got the best equipment that will produce that kind of quality that you are requiring, and what type of streaming services you use. I can't exactly advertise the streaming services that we normally use, but there's a few streaming services that you can use, and there's a few brands of equipment that you can use. So my job is to then say, okay, Shepard, this is your budget. Your budget is this. Your budget will be able to give you this and that. So just to touch on some of the things in relating to music and the things that you work with, say for example, you are driving from work and you are listening to your favorite music or your favorite song, and then you get home. 90% of the people, when you get home, or either when you are coming from home or from work or from wherever, you're listening to music in the car, you don't want to get out of the car because your music or your track hasn't stopped. So with the work that I do, I can program your house and your car to tell it to say, listen, I was listening to let's say, what's the favorite song that is going crazy right now? What's that?
Oh yeah.
Go. What is it called?
Which one?
The song that people are going crazy with these days. Buga. Yes.
Buga.
So, yes. Well,
Okay.
I'm not advertising Buga, but yeah, you should check it out. It's a good song.
Sure.
So anyway, let's say you're listening to your favorite song from the car and you're coming out, and then 90% of people will say, let's wait for the song to finish. But with the smart homes that I do, you don't even have to wait, because whatever you're playing in the car, I can make your house and the car mirror each other, that the moment you unlock your house, the house automatically knows that you're playing track number 5 on your favorite playlist and continues with the song. Hence, now I then say it's making you lazy, because in normal houses, you then have to go and say, play, search the song or whatever. But with the kind of houses that I do, you can actually tell the house that if I'm playing something, the moment I drive into the garage, the song that I'm playing in the house, transfer it into the house so that the house starts playing the song. So that's the level of intelligence that the system that we are dealing with kind of do. And when you really look at it, it's an amazing tool, and it makes a lot of people lazy, but it's a good thing.
When I was just listening to you now, I was just laughing with myself that you see the things that you do. It's that for an average house, right?
No.
It's not for an average house, and this is why I loved having him here. And because I mean, like, even now we are always talking about like soft life.
Soft life.
So if you want to live a soft life, and I mean, like, most people, they have like dream houses that they want to have.
True.
And sometimes you just don't think I'm selling your business. You know? I'm selling Vincent's business. So some of us, like, we were dreaming big, want to have like a nice big house, and some don't necessarily need a big house, but they want something. At least it should be a smart house.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Vincent is the one guy who can create that smart house that you want.
True.
And you just heard it from him, like the technology. I mean, I'm sure there's more that you can
definitely
deep dive into.
Yes. This is just to give you a snippet of what the houses can do. But yeah, there's more.
So you can see that like these smart houses, so which means now you work with clients with a lot of money, right?
Not just a lot, tons of money. Tons of money.
Yeah.
I said, so the funny part, most of these clients that I work with, they've got tons and tons of money, and one of my greatest appreciation is to be in their presence, and some of the things that they tell you, how they made the money and how the money came to about, you're like, but how, so I'll give you a funny story.
Sure.
There's a time when we were installing a cinema in a house for this one client. Then the client says to me, Vincent, I want the best. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean the best? It's like, Vincent, if there's anything that someone will say this is the best of the best, that's what I want. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we said, okay, cool, we'll do that. And then now this person is trusting you with their whole pocket, like literally. And in that sense, you now as an individual have to then produce that kind of result and expectation that this person is already looking for. So when you then look at that situation, that's when you start realizing that some other brands of equipment that we thought are the best, you then realize that no, this is actually rubbish, because it won't do what you want the house to do. And you'll be like, but all my life I grew up knowing that this is the best system in the world. And then you then hear of other amplifier, just one amplifier that cost over 500,000 rands, and you're thinking,
I think maybe you can just drop the names. At the moment, I don't have sponsors, and
okay.
No, we just drop
okay.
The names.
So I can drop the names.
Yeah, then you can just drop the names,
because I don't want to bash anyone.
No, it's okay, because it's opinions.
This is based on my opinion. This is based on my opinion.
So you can just
at
least someone can know that Samsung sound bar is not. No. Someone is like, no, I want to get a JBL speaker, and they think that's like the best.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll get to the. But I mean, let me just give you a chance to.
Yeah. So now, so I'll give. So this particular brand that I'm talking of, it's called a Trinov. The Trinov in the whole of South Africa, there is 5 of them in the whole of South Africa. In the whole world, there's 250. And this thing, like I'm saying, it costs plus or minus 500K. So we're talking of just an amplifier that doesn't even have the speaker, doesn't even have the projector, doesn't even have the audio stream, doesn't even have anything. So you're thinking, okay, if a person can afford to buy just one amplifier for 500K, automatically it changes the way you look at that whole cinema setup, because now you're thinking, okay, so what else can I put in this cinema? Because you can't afford to put a cheap amplifier or a cheap speaker that you buy from Macro or from
Game
or from Game. You're like, my friend, you're joking.
Yeah.
You're joking. So. And with all of these people, it's not like so in the first incident, I was like, why are these people showing off? Because in my head, I'm thinking, why do you need a 500,000 rand speaker or 500 rand amplifier?
Sure.
And then you start realizing that there's a certain quality and a certain sphere of living that you get to when you have a ton of money that just your normal average equipment won't actually cut it. Say, for example, the same way someone would go and buy a Ferrari or a Bugatti or a Rolls Royce instead of going to go buy a Toyota or a Hyundai.
Yeah.
So you get to a point now, you start saying to yourself, okay, guys, so do I really need to put all of this? And then so to an average person who doesn't have a clue of what this person is trying to have as an experience, you then get to say, no, they're wasteful. But now when you get to experience it, because if you really look at it, the whole sphere of what we do, as much as I joke around and saying I'm trying to make people lazy, people are really buying an experience. When you buy something that is of got a good quality, and when you have something that has got good quality and that you can use in an environment where you have the best of experience, you don't really care about the price. You find people who would say, okay, no, I know it costs that much, but that's what I want. And you'd say, no, but this thing is not even in South Africa. It's going to come maybe in 2 months. Like, no, that's fine. I can wait. And then when you get to that point, now you start realizing that, okay, so this person doesn't want to go buy a Sony amplifier from Macro or from Game. He wants to wait for a device that is being made and it's going to take a month to come. So you get to realize that this person is not in it just for the sake of they want to get something for now. They want to get something that is going to last them a lifetime, or that when somebody else, or when they're sitting in their home watching a movie or listening to music, you get the best experience of that particular setup that you want to work in. So price and being pricey, I would say 100% of all the stuff that I do is quite pricey. Yeah, it's quite pricey.
So on the work integration part of your work, right? Because maybe I should just explain the story how we met. So I am an electrical engineer, as most of us know, or some of you don't know. So we at my job, we had a high-end house that which we were working on, and of course we can't say the name of the house.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that
we can say the neighborhood.
Yeah, we can say the neighborhood. That was in, I think, Sea Point, right?
Clifton.
Clifton, eh?
Yes,
yeah,
Clifton,
Clifton.
yeah.
So literally, I was just starting with my job, and I remember. When you're starting with a job and then they're telling you, okay, and they've not given you something to work on it yet, but they want you to experience like different things. So one of my managers told me that, no, come with me. We have this project that we're doing. Actually, they were busy working on it. So we kept on going up and down, and I think I saw you. I might have seen you there in the house, because see, when you're working in a house like that, for someone who doesn't know, this is like, let's say maybe for someone, if just to have an idea, we're in South Africa. Let's say maybe if you are given a task to build Casper Nyovest mansion, right? So there will be people who will be architects and the electrical guys and everyone. So when you get there, you meet a whole lot of people who are who's just focusing on their own thing,
their own stuff.
And there's no need to have a relationship with them unless if maybe you have to maybe talk about if your work interacts, right?
That's correct.
So we are walking around, and my manager wanted to go into the cinema, talking about the cinema. So he wants to show me the different like look in the cinema and stuff. So funny enough, you were walking around, and then he asked you, "Hey, can you please?" Because his discipline is a home automation systems, right?
True.
And then on our ends, what we do is work with Lutron. You guys work with Lutron as well,
yes,
right? Yes.
Yeah.
So we work with Lutron, but I didn't know anything about Lutron at that time, because I was just a beginner. I didn't know. For me, they were just showing me a house. Okay, this is a house, because all I knew was a plug point, and I don't know what else. Aircon, at least. Yeah, so I didn't know much. I just knew, okay, but I didn't know all the technical stuff, right? So we meet Vince there. He's like, hi, can you please open for us? There was like a server room. And then next to server, I think there was even a DB just for that. That's for that floor. So this was like, I think 4-story house.
Yeah, 4 stories. Yeah,
a house with an elevator, guys. Next to the sea, you see all the breeze.
Overlooking the Table Mountain,
man.
Overlooking the whole Cape Town.
That house was fantastic. I don't know if I still have the pictures of the house, but anyways, let me not digress. So they asked Vince to open. And then Vince opened for us gladly, and then now he just worked out, thank you. And that was it. I think we didn't even have any interaction. It was just, okay, hey, sure. And then he opened for us. Only to find out later, we met at church again.
I think that's like almost a year after.
Definitely.
After.
Okay, I think I know this guy.
Even me also was like, I know you, but I couldn't picture to say, where do I know you from?
Exactly. Yeah. So, your previous company, the car that you were driving for the previous company, I was like, no, man, I know this company. And it all made sense later on. I was like, oh, this is how we actually met. But I think later on, we kind of like knew more each other from church. But that's how I actually met Vince. But I'm glad I met him, because he's a very good man. He knows a lot of stuff, and I think he has also given me some few deals. Talking about few deals, I don't want to maybe let's just continue with the high end houses so that I don't move ahead of myself. So when you were talking about the high ends, right? I realized that this is not for an ordinary person, right? You need to be like super moneyed. And the one thing that you said you learned, is there anything that you kind of like learned from like different, like what was the one house you were like, oh yeah, this one was like a bit tricky and you had challenges with? Is there anything that you had?
So the only one house that was very tricky. So with everything that we do, as much as when the house is completed, you don't see any wires or any cabling.
Sure.
But trust me, there is cables in that house. So we once pulled an average of about 15 kilometers worth of cable in the house. So when you look at 15 kilometers, that is a ton of cable.
Sure.
I remember it took us 3 months to pull the cable and 2 months to neaten the cable. This is before we even start connecting anything. Just pulling the cable, testing the cable, making sure that the cable is correct, it's going to the right place, labeling it, and all of that. Took us 3 months. So one of the greatest challenge with that house was the house is made out of spaceship. If you've watched Avengers, the Tony Stark house is made out of that. It's like a Tony Stark house.
Okay.
So
spaceship.
Yes, it's like literally a spaceship. Yeah.
Okay.
If you drive down Clifton, you definitely see it because it looks like a spaceship.
Okay.
So one of the greatest challenges that house had is it had 5 server rooms.
Okay.
So with the 5 server rooms, all these 5 server rooms needed to be interconnected and interlinked to each other. The only difficult part was there were like 5 contractors who worked on that house, whereby someone comes in do from A to B, and then someone comes and do C to D, and then someone comes and do E to 4. So now when we then took over that whole project, I think there were like 3 or 4 companies that tried and couldn't finish. So now you are sitting with 5 server rooms that is over 15 kilometers worth of cable, and no one knows where those cables are going.
You can't trace them.
And you can't trace them because you don't know whether this cable, does it go to server room 1 or server room 2 or server room 3 or server room 4, and this is like 4 different floors, 4 different floors and 4 wings. So that was, for me, that was the greatest challenge. So it was actually a plus. It was a challenge and a lesson learned. My previous boss used to say, every time when you have a challenge, he says you're paying school fees. So I've always graved it from him to say, listen, you're paying school fees. Every time you have a challenge, you're paying school fees. And I've learned a lot from him. It's an amazing experience that when you have somebody who you work with that is actually a mentor, it's a great opportunity to do that. Not so many people actually do that anymore. But just to go back to my story. So this house, like I said, it had 5 server rooms, and we didn't even know what cable goes to. And the client is not based from South Africa and says, guys, listen, I want this done. And the equipment is arriving. I want you guys to start putting in equipment. But now you can't put equipment if you don't know where you're connecting the equipment to. Yeah. So it took us another 2 months to trace the cables. So the lesson that we learned from that is every time when you pull a cable, it needs to be labeled on both ends, where it's coming and where it's going.
Oh, where it's going, yeah.
So that at least tomorrow, when you come back after a month, you know exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, if you don't, and if you're pulling 15 kilometers worth of cable, trust me, after 1 week, and if you've been there for 3 months, after 3 months, you have a spaghetti of cables. And if you don't know where it's going, you're as good as you are down for, because that's going to take you months to even try and trace
them
where that is going. And to make matters worse, This is no longer a construction site where you can say, maybe the pipe is going there. This is a completed house, ceilings closed, everything is closed.
Yeah.
But all you have is cables on one end and cables on one end.
Other end, yeah.
So I think for me, that was the greatest challenge house that we have ever done. To so much so that we ended up spending longer than what we had originally quoted for, because we assumed the cables are there. So no, it's not going to take us long. It's just a matter of connecting. But we didn't realize that most of those cables were not even labeled. So that was the biggest challenge that we've ever had in the house. But apart from that, most houses nowadays that we do it from scratch. So we know that this cable is going there and why we are pulling it. But with this house, because they had so many contractors that were there before us, and they were just pulling and not knowing where the cables were going and what to do with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the part with the contractors, having different contractors, in terms of frustration, I think maybe we might have touched a bit on it. How frustrating is it to have, because I know even in our industry, when a different consultant leaves, and then we have to go there and continue from there.
From there, it's
like, okay, these are different human beings. And you realize common sense is not as common.
Common sense is not as common.
Yeah.
So I think one of the key things that I've learned now is to build a network of companies that you work with. So let's say, for example, if we are doing, say, maybe a 5-story house that requires to have a whole lot of equipment in and a whole lot of devices in, there's no point in me taking on the whole job on my own. It would be stupid to do that.
Okay.
One would say, but you need to have all the money and bring in the stuff in-house. Fair and fine, yes. But there comes a time where you need to give people in the industry who are best at what they do. Because remember, like I said, you are trying to sell an experience. So if I know, for example, that Shepherd is the best electrical engineer in Cape Town, I'm not even going to bother trying to touch.
Guys, I'm a very
I'm not even going to bother myself to try and reinvent the wheel when I can come and say, Shepherd, listen, I have this job that I'm doing. I want you to handle all the electrical.
Sure.
But because I have a relationship with Shepherd, it makes my life easier, because if I say, Shepherd, our deadline is this, then I know Shepherd will do the job. And then once Shepherd has done his job, he comes out, I come in, I continue, and we already have a relationship and we have a symbiosis of how we work. So this comes in with a whole lot of things. So like if you look at a house, any house that you have has got two things. Your normal house obviously has got your roof, your floor, and your walls. Once that is done, you've got your electricals, your engineers, your electricians who are doing all your electrical. Once that is done, you've got everyone who's doing your aircon. Once that is done, you've got your security. Once that is done, you've got your CCTV. You've got your garages. You've got your doors. You've got the lights, the light features, and all of that. So all of that, you can't have it under one roof. As much as you might want to get all that money, you can't do it under one roof. You need to have people that you can work with. And then not only that, you need to have joineries. You need to have the guys that do your ceilings, the guys that do your drywalls. So that when you say, guys, listen, I want to put a speaker here, the people that are doing your ceilings, they need to know in hand that, okay, Vincent wants to put a speaker here. Yeah. The guy that is doing your joinery, like, listen, there's a 55 or a 60 or a 100-inch TV that is coming here. He's going to make sure that whatever joinery is put in there is strong enough to hold it. Say, listen, guys, I'm going to put an amplifier here. This amplifier produces so much heat in its ventilation. You've got your aircon guys who are going to say, okay, we'll put an extractor fan there for you so that the air is extracted. So imagine if you are not communicating with all of those people, no matter how much expensive equipment that I can put in that house, if that equipment is not ventilated properly, if that equipment is not cooled properly, if that equipment is not doesn't have enough voltage for power, that equipment is useless.
Especially if you're paying a lot of money.
Especially if you've paid a lot of, exactly, that equipment is useless. So hence now that whole symbiosis of working together with different contractors. So over the years, you do trial and error to say, okay, let's use contractor A. And then you realize that no, man, contractor A was lagging behind. Because you have to understand, some jobs you can't proceed if the contractor in front of you hasn't finished.
Yeah, definitely.
So because they have delayed you, it delays the whole project. And in this industry that we work in, you work with deadlines. So if the client comes and says, listen, guys, I'm giving you 6 months, tell me what you need. Charge whatever you want, but I'm giving you 6 months. What you do or who you have to go and hire and do what, I don't care. All I want is I want to do this in 6 months. If you don't finish in 6 months, these guys penalize you like there's no tomorrow. So you are looking at a person who's saying, I want to have the best experience for December. Let's say December 2022.
Sure.
I'm coming down to South Africa with my family. I want to have the best experience. I want my family that has never been to Africa to be in Africa, but not feel like they're in Africa. What do I mean by that? I'm saying they want everything that they have overseas to have it in Africa. The only time that they realize that they're in Africa is when they step outside the door. So now you have a deadline, and if you are working with contractors who are slow, that means that deadline, you're not going to make it. Trust me, that person is not going to change their holiday plans because you're behind. So hence I'm saying, working with contractors, you have to build a relationship, a network of people you work with, because you can't do it on your own. If you try and do it on your own, if it's a small project, yeah, you can try. But if it's a big project, I wouldn't even advise it, because in my line of work, I've noticed people who try and do it on their own, and you end up sinking way worse. Yes, because now when you sink, the bad part about this whole industry is you are good as long as you can produce good results. The moment you don't produce good results, any contractor who is building any project or any site, they'll say, no, those guys delayed us the last time, so we mustn't use them. And that's it. And once your name starts going around to say you delayed a certain project or you didn't produce the best quality, you're out of the game, because no one wants to use you. Because it's
word of mouth. Yeah.
Yes, it's word of mouth. Yeah. It's a very small community. And you actually ask yourself, but how come I've never seen anyone advertising home automation? Because the kind of clientele that we serve, they don't go online to check to see if you have got home automation. It's the same way you have Bentley or Rolls-Royce not advertising, or Ferrari not advertising. It's high-end stuff because when you come to me, you know what you want. And when I tell you my price, you're expecting it. So it's one of those things where you have to be able to produce, and not just produce, you have to produce good results, produce the best of the quality. And also not only that, these people are literally allowing you to be in their space. Because when you're dealing with this kind of people, so when you're dealing with this kind of houses that I deal with, you are not dealing with a PA. It's a different story when you say, please go wash my Mercedes-Benz. The driver can go and do that. But with the kind of system that I work with, even the PA won't be able to answer the questions that I would ask. So I would need to deal with the actual client, owner of the house. And that person has to have the time to meet me. No matter how busy they are, they would have to come and meet me to say, listen, Vincent, this is what I want. I want A, B, C, D, E. And I can't ask the PA to say, do you think your boss likes this? I can't, because if your PA thinks maybe your boss likes a red TV, and then the boss says, no, Vincent, I don't want a red TV, I want a green TV.
My wife doesn't like it.
Yes, yes, exactly.
You're making him fight with his wife.
So now you are sitting with the situation whereby you have to deal with the actual owner, and most of these people are very, 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 very wealthy and very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So let me to just summarize to give you how powerful they are. I'll give you a perfect example. This one time, I was parked in Sea Point, Fresnay. If anyone knows where Fresnay is, they'll know that Fresnay is almost hills.
Okay.
And then for that particular time, I didn't put my handbrake on. Well, my handbrake was on, but because it was on a steep, it wasn't on all the way up.
Okay.
So my handbrake rolled back. The car rolled back,
yeah.
and then went and hit an Eskom substation. And then there was a spark. The whole block in Fresnay went dark.
Ooh.
You are talking.
Was it at night?
At night. This was around 6:30 in the evening on a Friday night.
Ooh.
So, and then now you're thinking, I called my boss, I'm like, yo, this is what happened. And he's like, okay, the only way we can do it is we have to call Eskom tomorrow to come and fix it because it's Friday, it's after 5, they're not going to come today.
Sure.
So to just give you the summary of how powerful these people is, he picked up a phone and said, Vincent, don't worry, I've got this. And I'm like, dude, the whole neighborhood now doesn't have power. I'm like, no, it's fine, I'll fix it. He picked up a phone, called somebody, I don't know who he called.
Sure.
In 15 minutes, one truck from Eskom came, started dismantling the broken substation.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, another truck came with a brand new substation.
Just like that.
They took out the substation, put in the substation, and after an hour, my boss came and says, where's the accident? I'm like, there. I'm like, no, but where's the damage? I'm like, no, it's gone. I'm like, what do you mean it's gone? I'm like, I mean that it's gone. So I went to my client. I'm like, dude, who did you call? I mean, because, and to even give you a perspective, this person is not nowhere near politics. Nowhere near politics.
Sure.
And I said, who did you call? Because surely whoever you have called, this person is powerful.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, his words were like, Vincent, I didn't get to where I am by working hard. I am where I am because I have built relationships, because I've understood that no matter how much money I have, I cannot do everything on my own. I need people around me who are in different areas that can be able to do things that I can't do. And he says, by just doing this, it's not because I've paid anyone or I've bribed anyone. I didn't bribe anyone, but it's because of the relationships that I have with people and the respect that I have in the community. And for me, that set, I'm like, what? If anyone knows if you have a problem with Eskom, you're gonna wait.
You're gonna wait.
You're gonna wait.
I'm going to wait.
Yes, you're gonna wait. And so, what am I saying? So, what I'm basically saying is,
because I think what you just said, I feel like it's a life lesson for all of us who are trying to get our careers right and stuff.
Exactly.
So it's okay. In our journey in building, let's have the right relationships.
Exactly.
And I know even Pastor always says that we must have the right relationships and even how to maintain the relationships.
Maintain it, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry for cutting you.
No, that's fine. So and then for me, it was a lesson like you just said, to say, in life, no matter how wealthy you are, no matter how educated you are, no matter how smart you are, you need the next person. The same way your right hand cannot wash itself, it needs the left hand to wash it.
Definitely,
and the same way your left hand cannot wash itself, it needs the right hand to wash it. One of the key things that we have missed in our generation is to try and do everything on our own. To say, I've got here by myself, no one helped me, no one did this for me. As much as that may be good, but you can get there by yourself and it will take you 6 months, or you can get there with somebody who's helping you and it takes you 6 weeks. The choice is yours. You know what I'm saying? So the lesson there, exactly like you said, that in relationships, you in life or in business or in any sphere of life stage that you're in, you need to have people that you can rely on, people that you can count on.
Sure.
I know my pastor always jokes and says, in your circle of friends, who can you call at midnight and say, "Bro, I need 20K," and they'll come through to you. And he says, if you don't have, you need to start looking for new friends.
Yeah.
As much as that might be funny and all, but the key is not about the amount. The key is about who can come through to you at that particular time. So most people always lose it and think, okay, I don't have any friends who've got 20K. It's not about the 20K. It's the issue is about the friends that can come through and say, here's 5K. I don't have the 20K, but here's the 5K. But if you have 5 friends who can give you the 5K, you're already on your 20K. Or if you have 20 friends who can give you 1K, you're already on the 20K. So rather than you to say, okay, I'm going to wait 2 months to raise the 20K on my own. So, and I mean, as much as that may be okay to say, no, I did this on my own, and you hit your chest and all of that, in life, you don't have to go through it on your own. You have to always have relationships, have to build relationships, and maintain them, like you said. Because if you don't do that, you're basically on your own. So again, in the line of any industry that you work in, you definitely need to have certain contractors, certain people that you work with. Like, for example, I'm well versed in a whole lot of things. I can do electrical, I can do networking, I can do security, I can do audio, I can do welding if I have to, I can do carpentry if I have to. But they are all not my strong suits. And I know people who are very skillful in all of those areas.
Sure.
So there's no point in myself, like I said before, that I know somebody.
Take all of them, yeah.
Yeah, I know somebody, like I said, I know Shepard is the greatest electrical engineer I know. So there's no point in me trying to say to build a whole DB and measure the watts and the loads for everything when I know Shepard can do it in his sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it, but I'll probably take longer than Shepard will do. So I'll just call Shepard, hey, Shepard, come do this, because I know he can do it quicker and faster and more efficient than I could do. And vice versa, if he wants something that is in my field, he's not going to spend 20 hours trying to figure it out on his own. You're like, hey, dude, this is what's up. How do I do it? And then in 2 minutes, I can tell him over the phone, oh, okay, cool. Rather than him trying to go through YouTube and books and all of that. You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting phase that we are now in. So relationships for me is the greatest joy that I've learned to say. Most of the things that I've achieved and most of the things that I've done and most of the things that I've accomplished, I didn't do it because of I'm educated or because I went to a university or I've got a degree. No, it's based on relationships. And there are certain doors that can never open unless somebody shows you where the door is.
Sure.
You might be walking through the hallway up and down, and somebody says, dude, the door is here.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, even for me to even come out to be bold and say I'm resigning, I think everyone that knows me was like, dude, are you mad? Are you crazy? You've got a good job, you got benefits. Why are you resigning?
Sure.
But it's all to do with relationships. You know, somebody showed me a door and said, listen, as much as, yes, you've got a good job, but there's also a door here.
Sure.
And this door, if you walk through this door, I'll hold your hand all the way to the end. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But it's for a person to then come out and do that, they would not do that unless if they have
had a
relationship with you, because like I'm saying, most of these people are literally trusting you with their life, and they are trusting you with their own reputation.
True.
For that matter, because there's no way I'm gonna go and recommend Shepherd to say, Shepherd, come do this multi-million rand deal if I don't trust Shepherd myself.
Yeah.
Right? So if that person, they don't trust you, that means you can't exactly do it. So you have to build that relationship with the person to say, listen, I know you are doing this, and I know you are doing ABC. I know somebody who can give you the best product for that ABCD.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that kind of a deal or that kind of a relationship with someone, you're not going to do it. And 90% of these people that I'm talking about, they don't even expect anything in return to say, listen, I've showed you the door, so give me a cut. No. They're saying, listen, I've showed you the door. When I want something from you to go forward, I know where to get it, and I know where to get it closer. So it's not even an issue of they're showing you the door because they want something in return. No.
I mean, there's also a thin line as well, because I was actually thinking about it as well, what you're talking about, to say that what is the line between relationships? Because, sometimes bribing can come out of relationship.
True.
But this is not related to you. It was just my thoughts. I was just
no. I know.
Out loud. So I was like, okay, how do you draw the line? Because doing you a favor. Actually, this thought came out of there was I don't know if you saw on Facebook. There was a graduate, right, who was crying. I think it was in UKZN or something when they were graduating, right? So this guy says, I want to give this guy a job. He can come and work in my company, right?
Yeah.
And since it's a social media thing, people are commenting and they're saying, what happened to the proper way of applying for a job?
Yes.
And you know that for me, I was a bit conflicted about that, because I was like, okay, but I'm doing it because I was just touched by their story, and I want to employ them. And so hearing someone who's saying that, but why weren't they scouted like normal people?
Like normal people, yeah.
So it was like when you're saying that, I was just something that maybe you can also touch on that as well. That okay, where do we draw the line between relationships and a point where they say they call it a bribe?
Yeah. So it's like you're saying, it's a very fine line. It's a very very fine line, because to somebody you'd say, okay, the relationship is there. So let's say, for example, I will keep giving you as an example. There's no way, I can tell you now, there's no way I would go hire a different electrical engineer when I know that you are there. You see what I'm saying?
Which is coming from the relationship that you're talking about.
Exactly.
As contractors, there's a house, and I know that as a company, we've tried working with
so
and we bent our fingers.
Exactly, yeah.
So not only is it affecting the livelihoods of the people who are inside the company,
exactly.
So even the reputation, like you wanted to say, So it's important to cement the relationships.
Okay. Definitely. So now that's why exactly what I was saying, to say you have people who are in different spheres, whereby now you're saying, okay, I know Shepherd is an electrical engineer. I know Joseph is the best graphic designer. So if I want something done, I'm not gonna go to somebody else. I'm gonna go to the person that I know. And if I know, okay, somebody wants a driving school, I already know a guy who has a driving school.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take them to iMove. There's no way I'm gonna go to somebody who I don't trust. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And if you're coming to me, you are trusting my opinion. So technically, if I give you a bad reference, it's my name on the line.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I have to give you a reference of somebody that I know,
you trust,
and somebody that I trust. Is that nepotism? No, it's not, because it's not like I'm giving you somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm giving you somebody who I haven't worked with, because again, this is based on my opinion.
The relationships,
and based on the relationship that I have. It's like for example, people always ask me this question whenever they are buying TVs. Vincent, what is the best brand TV to get?
Sure.
You're like, okay, best brand TV, what are you looking for? Because you can get any TV that is made out of China and you can stick it any name that you want. I can go to China today and say, please make me TVs and make it Vincent TV, and they can make it.
Sure.
So the reason why I'm asking this is there is no good brand that you can say this is the best brand. The only good result is what are you trying to achieve at the end of the day.
Okay.
So, for example, I'll give you a perfect example of the two brands that I was trying to give earlier on, of
Sure.
a Sony amplifier
Yeah.
and a Triumph amplifier.
Yeah.
90%, I would probably say maybe 100% of people who are listening to this have never heard of a Triumph amplifier.
And I haven't heard it as well.
You see what I'm saying? So,
Sure.
you've never heard of it, right? And growing up, those are the brands, your Philips, your Sony, your Yamaha, those are the brands that we grew up knowing.
Yeah.
They are good brands to a certain level.
Yeah.
Yes, to a certain, that's why I say to a certain level.
Yeah.
But there are certain levels that you need to go higher. And then you realize that, no, man, this thing can't even take it any higher than this.
Definitely. Yeah.
So the reason why I'm asking the fine line is, it's like asking which one is the best TV between a Samsung and an LG TV?
Sure.
Out of preference, someone will tell you, no, LG is the best.
It's the best, yeah.
Out of preference, somebody will tell you Samsung is the best. But the real question is not who's the best. What are you trying to achieve as an end result? If you know your end result, then you can work your way back to say, okay, Samsung can do A, B, C, D. LG can do A, B, C, D. Philips can do A, B, C, D. Sanyo can do A, B, C, D. Telefunken can do A, B, C, D. But because of the A, B, C, Ds that I have here, the best brand to choose is this one. So you can't then come up and say you are biased to this particular brand. No, I'm not biased. What are you trying to achieve? And based on experience, like you said, that you've had your fingers bent, based on experience, you then start realizing that, okay, this particular brand, it's easier to work with and it integrates with a whole lot of things. So again, I go back. My whole job description is home automation.
Sure.
Home automation is integrating everything that is in the house to work as one. So you might have the best brand picture, but is it integratable to everything else? If it's not integratable with everything else, that means I can't use it.
You can't use it, yeah.
Right? So you might have the best audio and sound, but if it's not integratable with your iPhone or your Samsung or your Sony or your different type of brand of mobile devices or smartphones, then I can't use it. That means I have to use a brand that can integrate with all of them. So one brand could be compatible with a certain particular brand, but it's not compatible with all of the other brands. So now I need a brand that can accommodate everything else. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you end up now integrating the stuff. And that's how you're now creating the relationship and knowing that, okay, on house A, we tried using brand X. Brand X doesn't cut it. And brand X will work if it's just the only brand in the house. Or you then limit it to say, if you're going to use brand X, you have to use brand X throughout the whole house.
Yeah.
Right? And then by doing that, it's almost like you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Because, God forbid, for whatever that brand is, has a software update, and then that software has got a bug. That means your whole entire house has got a bug.
Okay.
Right?
So talking about a bug, I think I'll come back on the bug thing, right? So I want to get on a bit on the technical side of things, right? Do you guys work as contractors or do you work as designers? The reason why I'm asking that question is most of the time the client, like you were saying, the client will say, okay, we want 1, 2, 3. And sometimes we sit down with the client and then they want lights to switch on like this, and okay, we just know that okay, this should be just a Lutron, because what we do is just we put a Lutron, and someone I don't think we program. Probably it's you guys who program, right?
Yes, it's us who program. Yeah.
Yes. So we just provide you guys with a Lutron which goes to a certain light, right?
What
so
you do with it is
what you guys do with it is not part of our scope. we just give you a wire so that you can get power there, right? So I just want to find out: is there any programs that you're using to design, or maybe to make to fix everything? And if there is, first of all, just answer as well. Are you both contractors and consultants, or maybe you can just start there and then answer that?
So like we actually, if you look at my business cards, it says systems design.
Oh,
that's my job description, my system designer.
Okay.
So when we say system designer, basically what we're calling ourselves is we're saying the client tells us what they want, then we design a system based on what the client wants.
Sure.
Once we've designed the system based on what the client wants, then we look for the devices that will work best and hand in hand to produce the best results of what the client's outcome is requiring. So let's say, for example, I'll give you a scenario. Client says to me, guys, I lose keys all the time, right? And I forget PIN codes all the time. Or I have so many PIN codes, I don't want to keep remembering PIN codes or whatever. So you say, okay, you lose keys, you forget PIN codes, you don't want to remember any PINs. Most people's reaction would be, that's easy. Just use biometrics.
Biometrics, yeah.
But here's the tricky part with biometrics. Biometrics works well if you are below the age of 49 and below. Biometrics works perfect.
And your clients are older.
And if you are above the age of 49, biometrics becomes very, very tricky.
Sure.
So what do I say with this? So your normal fingerprints, when you are below the age of 49, they are very visible. But when you start going over the age of 49 and above, your fingerprints starts getting wrinkles. And the wrinkle starts getting embedded in your fingerprints. So that means your whole fingerprint is no longer your fingerprint.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Because your skin is wrinkled. So now you start asking, okay, so what do I do? Okay, so are we now going to the end times where we put chips in people? It's coming. The
666.
The 666, it's coming.
Sure.
Then you start saying, okay, fine. No, you don't have to do that, but there are ways of doing it. Like, oh, okay, cool. What else is there? You've got your iris, your pupil dilation, your facial recognition. Now you've got your facial recognition software that you put in your camera system. The moment the camera system picks up your face, knows that, okay, this is Shepard. If Shepard walks to the door, I can open the door for Shepard. Stuff like that. So, and then you start asking yourself, okay, so the client doesn't want to have keys. The client doesn't want to have PIN codes. The client doesn't want to have a tag. The client doesn't have to have voice, because if they have flu, they can't get in. The client doesn't want to have anything on them to identify that it's a set of keys. So for that to work, there's also a number of things that have to take place in the background for the client to just walk up to the front door and the door will open. So that means you need to be able to integrate with an electrician who will route pipes to the front door, back to the server room. That means you need to then discuss with the architecture to say, am I allowed to drill into this concrete beam that is supporting your 4-story house? Then you need to work with the structural engineer to say, can I put pipes in here? Then you need to work with the plastering guys to say, once these pipes are in, I want you to close them. Then you need to work with the painter to say, once this painted, This needs to be painted so that no one will ever know that there's a cable in there. So all of this, again, is work that is going on in the background for you to achieve one goal, for the client not to have a key on him.
Yeah.
So all of this comes into play to say, I have to have all of this stuff so that at least I can be able to achieve this. So if you then come up with a situation to say, no, I just want a camera there, but the type of camera that you're going to put there, it needs to be able to do the work that you want.
Yeah.
So you have to sit down and design the whole entire house of what you want to do. So the reason why I was telling you that we have pulled 15 kilometers of cable, it's not just we are pulling cables for the sake of pulling them.
Sure.
We are pulling cables because of a specific reason and a purpose of, okay, this cable that we are pulling is going to this particular point to do a specific job. And somebody has to sit months or even weeks trying to design that whole entire structure, trying to design that whole entire house, that for this particular camera and for this particular door to work hand in hand, you need this particular cable for the light, this particular cable for the camera, this particular cable for this. So this is not just one cable that you're pulling, it's different types of cables.
Sure.
You have, I think...
Because there also has to be synergy.
Exactly.
You don't want to enter
exactly.
the TV switching on,
exactly.
but the lights are not on.
Exactly.
Sure.
So then you have all these different kinds of cabling that needs to be done, all these different kind of voltages that are working together for a door to open. That means that door needs to have either a lock that is electronic, and that door needs to have a certain particular type of a brand that allows it to do that.
Sure.
And that door needs to have an automatic hinge that allows it to do that. So there's a lot of planning that is involved. So when you look at it, you're like, no, this door opens by itself. Sure. But there's a lot that has gone in, and there's lots of cables and a lot of manpower, man hours that has gone in to just produce that one door being open on its own.
Sorry to diverge now. And you know, what you're talking about, it's all because of a specification from the client.
From the client.
What was like the most, not necessarily, I don't want to use the word outrageous, but what was the most difficult spec, or maybe a difficult house? I don't know if maybe it's the one that you talked about earlier on.
No. That one was just a difficult house in terms of,
getting the stuff together, yes. But in terms of what was the most difficult spec, because we are also currently working on a high-end house in Sierra Leone, and my manager, the one who's a specialist on this, he's the one who's just going up and down, and sometimes there's like unrealistic expectation, and you're like, but we can't really achieve. Not that we can't, but it's like you know, in the Bible when they say Elisha asked Elijah, and then he told him that you have asked for a hard thing. Exactly. So what was the scenario in your case where a client asked you, because it looks like it's simple, but it's not so simple. But it's not as simple. So in your case, what
so there's a house, I think most, I would probably say to date, is the most expensive house in South Africa.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say it probably is the most expensive house in South Africa right now. The client was a very simple person, but the client wanted a situation whereby if he's driving in, he doesn't want to even take a remote and press the remote to open the gate. He didn't want a situation where he has to reach for keys to do anything. He just wanted, when he comes to the house opens, he drives in, the doors open, he walks in, and then that's it. It was not as easy to achieve because, number one, there were so many variables that were at play in terms of making sure that it can happen, but at the same time, is it still secure? Because you have a situation whereby if we say, okay, cool, if somebody steals your car, they have literally got access to your whole entire house, because you can't use the car to get into the house, because then anyone who drives in with your car have full access to the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you separate the car, the individual, the kids, the wife, to have, because you can't say one person have full access and then what about the next time tomorrow you come with an Uber?
Yeah,
the house is not going to recognize the Uber. So for us, that was the greatest challenge in terms of achieving that.
I would like to find out how you guys dealt with that. Yeah.
We then eventually managed to get it done, but unfortunately I can't tell you how we did it, because by telling you how we did it, it's like almost telling you how to get in. So you can't really. Yes, I can't really. So I'm just saying.
I get what you mean.
Yes, we did eventually manage to get it to work.
So which means the way that to get in is a general way which any person can do to actually enter.
Yeah, but the house only identifies and recognizes the key people who are the owners of the house.
Oh, I see.
So you've got, so we needed to have like a few security checks to put in play to say, for example, I'll give you one scenario. If, say, for example, if you come in driving any of the client's cars, the cameras on the house can identify the license plate. After the cameras have identified the license plate, the cameras can also identify the model of the car. So one of the questions that the client asked was, so Vincent, are you telling me that if someone comes and steals my number plate and put it on any car, they can come in and drive in?
Because there's like so many specs.
Exactly. Yeah. So we then told the client that no, listen, because this is just one of the features that the house would recognize you when you come in.
Yes, like verification checks.
Yes, verification checks. So there's like, I think 4 or 5 verification checks that the house would do before it opens the gate. But all of this happens in a split second.
Okay.
So it's not like you do like, okay, I'm checking your license plate now. No, now I'm checking. So it checks the license plate, checks the model of the car, checks the color of the car, checks the person who's driving the car, and checks also where you are parking the car. So the house has got 6 garages. So
of course it does.
So you can't just go into the house on any of the garages. You have to know which garage to use. So that's one of the aspects of it as well. So because of that, now we had to put in all of these measures in play to say, listen, as much as the house can identify you, we also don't want you to come with people while you are at gunpoint and then the house will still open. There's also measures that...
There's a lot of specs.
Yes, there are also measures taken into place that even if the client has been hijacked or whatever, if the people come with the client in the car, it depends on where that client is sitting. So if they come in the car and the client is sitting on the left side at the back or on the right side at the back, that already tells the house the kind of scenario that is in. Or if the client comes in and the client has got his arm on the window, it also tells the house. All of those dynamics comes into play. So as a security feature, that was, for me, that was the highest spec that we've ever seen in terms of the requirements, in terms of doing that. But we managed to get all of that up and running. But it's one of those things when you look at it, you're like, do people actually do that? It's like somebody actually is doing it.
It's doing it. Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's actually doing it, you know. And then when you tell people like, no, man, that's not necessary. But when you look at people who have that kind of ton of money that I'm talking about, they can't take anything for granted. They can't take their lives for granted, their families, their spouse, their kids. They can't take anything for granted. And 80% of these people, their homes are their domain. And there's no point in having 20 bodyguards when you're outside, but when you're in your own home, you're not as secure. So most of these clients, they go all out in terms of security. When you look at it, you might like, oh wow, this house looks so beautiful. But trust me, 80% of those houses are fortresses. You can't just get in. And it's not like they have big safes with a lot of jewelry. It's mainly themselves.
Yeah, it's just
because
the house,
they have the highest value. Because I mean, a person who can spend over R1 million to just build a lounge, if you tell them, I'll kill you, give me 100,000, they'll give you 100,000 because it's nothing.
Of course, yeah.
But they can't replace their lives. Hence, their lives are the most valuable assets that they have. So they make sure that everything like that is secured. So what I'm trying to say is most of the stuff that we do in terms of security is very confidential, very high end. You can't exactly get into details with that, because also by doing that is also a breach of non-disclosure and a breach of confidentiality. But the things that I'm talking about is things that you can go on Google and say, can I do this? And Google like, yeah, you can do it. But how to then integrate it with the way that we have done it is totally different than anything else, because then that brings the whole confidentiality into play. But I think for me, that was the worst, because we had to integrate not just one security feature, but maybe 6 or 7 security features just to achieve one thing, you know. And when you look at it, you're like, why don't you just use a remote like normal people, you know? Yeah. But again, like I'm saying, for them, the remote still works, but they want that high-end confidence to say, even though the remote still works, you still just can't walk in. You know what I'm saying? You still just can't walk in. So even if you had to say, okay, I'm going to cut his thumb and I'll use his thumb reader, the thumb itself, it needs to be at 37 degrees Celsius because the person is alive. And the angle that you put the thumb in as well is different. So there's like I'm saying, there's a whole lot of features that were put in play to just make sure that the house is secure. And for me, that was like, even when we were designing it, I'm like, guys, is it really necessary? Is it really necessary? Yeah. Because when you look at it, in most houses that I know, they only have one of the features. And then once you have the one of the feature, it's you're pretty much secure.
Sure.
But this client was like, nope, I'm not just having one. I want to have a backup of a backup, a backup of a backup.
Sure.
So, and you know, when a person is saying to me, Vincent, my life is my greatest asset. So they don't care how much they spend on that particular thing, because again, like I'm saying, their life is their greatest asset.
Sure.
So they don't really care. So they would go all out. I think for me, that was the worst in terms of designing and coming up. Because even with us also, you think, okay, guys, we have cracked it. This is it. And then we run a few tests. I'm like, no, guys, I can still get in through this. And then you have to go back again to the drawing board. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, this is secure. This is secure. So every time when you secure one end, you tick. You secure one end, you tick. You secure one end, you tick. Like, okay, but what if a person comes through there? And then you're like, yeah, but guys, the house is on a cliff. No one is going to come from the cliff. I'm like, my guy, somebody can come from the cliff. You know? So
trying to do James Bond stuff,
someone trying to do the James Bond, or come with a paraglide and jump in, or jump out of an aeroplane and land with it. So when we are sitting up with that, we have to look at the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario to say, okay, the only way that anyone can come in is if they are to drill from China and drill all the way to get to Africa and come out from underground. That's the only way you can get in.
Sure.
And even with that, also when you get in, you might actually get a steel plate underneath the house.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, it's one of those where you have to like, okay, how. It's like when you're designing a house, you're not designing it from a security point of view or from an engineer's point of view. You're designing it from an intruder's point of view.
Yeah.
As an intruder, if you were the intruder with all the knowledge that you have, how would you get in? Right? My ex-boss used to always come up with this funny tricks and games to say, listen, guys, the house is secure. Whoever gets in the quickest gets a bonus of 1,000 rand. Right?
Sure.
And then, and mind you, these are people who already know what's in there. And then you'll say, whoever gets in the quickest gets a bonus of 1,000 rand.
Sure.
But the whole idea was not to teach us to crack, but was for him to see that how long will it take and how secure is this design.
Sure.
So
it's like the bank hiring a hacker.
Yes, yeah. So, and then when you then come up to say, no, guys, I tried, we can't get in. You're like, okay, then the house is secure. Because imagine the people who have designed the system, if they can't get in, that means it's secure.
Yeah,
because
secure,
if we can get in, that means the house is not secure. So that's one of the reasons why I would always like make sure that when we test, and even in most divisions, hence now the segregation that I was talking about, to say you can't have everything in under one roof. Because if you have everything under one roof, that means the fact that everything is under one roof, that's your greatest weakness. Because now all you have to do is be in that company and you know everything. So by giving the layout and giving the conduit runs to somebody else to do it, that means you are also securing yourself, because when you come in the house, if I know where the conduits are, all I have to do is come with a grinder, cut all the cables, and the house is open. But if I don't know where they have put in the conduits, I can't even cut. Where you gonna cut? Because you're not seeing anything. So hence now that whole security comes into play to say, listen, you guys are gonna do this, you guys are gonna do this. And most of these guys, when they are putting in the conduits and the piping and everything, they don't even know what they're putting those pipes for. Right? Because we are the only ones who know what we're putting that pipe for. So they just know, oh no, they say that we want pipes, but we don't know what that pipe is for. So hence that whole security comes into play. So it's all to do with the whole symbiosis of networking, the whole symbiosis of making sure that the client spec is it's met. Is it some of them ridiculous? Yeah, some of them are quite ridiculous. You're like, dude, it's not necessary. But someone will say, yeah, I want it. Another one was this client is one of the leading managers for one of the most popular production company in terms of movies. Because if I tell you which brand it is, then you might guess who it is, and you might like, okay, Vincent, you're telling us who it is. So this person says, listen, I do this for a living. So I want to make sure that if I'm testing or viewing a movie for the first time, I want the best experience. And then that's when you realize that you walk into a cinema that has over 26 speakers, and you're like, why 26? And this person who tells you, Vincent, I want to be able to hear if a coin is dropped in the movie. I want to hear that coin going, I want to hear that crisp. So a situation like that, to a normal person, like, no man, just do a surround system 5.1 or you're done. Put a sound bar there in the subwoofer, you're okay. No. There's what we call now.
Is it the one that you're going to design? Is it better than the one that you have in cinemas?
Yes, it's definitely better. Way better. Because remember, in cinema, it's not based on how you are sitting. When we are designing a home cinema, if you've looked at most of home cinemas, they are not more than 15 chairs inside. The reason that they are not more than 15 chairs inside is every sit needs to experience the same thing that seat B is experiencing. So when you design a cinema like that, your sound calibration, your sitting position, and all of that takes into effect.
Okay.
So in a large cinema, you are experiencing a wholesome sound that is surround, but the person who's sitting on the left side, they will not be able to hear as much as somebody who's sitting on the right side.
Okay.
And the person who's sitting on the right side, they might not be able to hear as much as...
Oh, yeah, which makes sense, yeah.
So, but when you're doing a home cinema, it's a totally different ballgame because everything is close to each other and you have to do it within the sphere of the sitting position. So the sitting arrangement that they sit on and how they listen to it is totally different. So with that said, now that's when you hear someone saying, dude, I want to be able to hear everything. I want to be able to, if this movie was done in 8D, I want to hear 8D.
Then what is 8D? What is 8D?
What is 8D? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you know how you have in TV, you have your
4K and
4K,
Sure.
you have your 3D. In sound, you have the same thing.
Okay.
So in sound, you've got your stereo, that's your left and right.
Sure.
And then you've got your mono, you've got your...
Is it with the 320 kp?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then you've got your 8D. So your 8D is basically you are seeing sound. You are listening to sound in 8 dimensions.
Oh, I see.
So it's no longer just hearing it. You are feeling it. And
Okay.
it's like you are in there, you know. So that's where now it comes into play that you can't have an 8D. Most 8D best quality sound that you'd hear, you only get them in headphones.
Is it?
Yes. So now we're trying to mimic what you get in a headphone.
Okay.
In a normal cinema.
Sure.
That means the whole sphere of the sound that you're getting on, you need to get it in that kind of setup. So
even so, sorry to cut you there. Even when they make movies, do they have that in mind?
No, they don't. There are certain movies that are made only in certain. That's why if you look at the movies when it's starting, it always tells you that this movie is made out of Dolby. This movie is made out of 5.1, or this movie is made out of 5.2. So there's no point in you watching a movie that is made out of 5.1 in a 8D, in an 8D or in a Dolby surround. It's not going to come out. It's not going to come out.
It doesn't come out, or it just comes out.
It comes out, but it's not going to come out is what it's intended to.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
Or you're not gonna.
So it just sounds like a normal.
Yes, it just sounds like a normal thing. So,
is it Dolby that gives you 8D?
No. There's a whole lot of stuff. There's HFX, there's Atmos around, and I think so far Atmos is the one that has got the best, because Atmos is more or less like it's giving you, let's say for example, let me give you a perfect example. You have 100 tennis balls, right? If you throw 100 tennis balls in the air, when they land, what do? They are not going to land at the same time to go boom. You're going to have all of them landing at different vibes, different. The one that is closest to you is louder. The one that is closest, furthest away from you is lesser, but at the same time, you can still hear it. That's where now the atmos and sound comes into play to say, I'm hearing the tennis ball that is on the furthest, even though I'm still hearing the one that is on the closest.
So that's like...
at the same time, I'm hearing all of them.
All of them, yes.
You see what I'm saying? So that kind of a situation, now that's what most movies are now being designed to come up to say, even if a helicopter comes in, or if a car is speeding on a curve, or you're watching an F1 race with that kind of a sound, when the gear is being changed, and the tire is screeching, and the sound of the car going, you are hearing all of them, but all of them distinctively. They are not all coming in as one, but you're hearing all of them distinctively. Oh, that's a gear change. Oh, that's a tire scratch. Oh, that's a, you know what I'm saying? So that's where it then comes into play. But for that to happen, You can't do it with your normal
left and right
stereo. And right. It won't work.
Sure,
it won't work. I remember we watched a movie on stereo, and we then watched another movie, the same movie on surround, and then the same movie on Atmos on 8D. You'll be like, wait, are we watching the same movie, or is something different?
So it actually changes everything.
Yes, it changes everything. It changes the whole experience. It changes the whole experience. There's a few movies that I know that have been done in 8D that if you watch them using your headphones, you have a different experience. If you watch them just normal watching the TV, you also have a different experience. You're like, wait, but I didn't hear that before. You see, the same way that nowadays when you're watching a movie in LCD, in 4K, and in LED, you're like, oh, okay, the color is different, or I'm not seeing the hair fibers, or the, stuff like that. So that's the same thing that we have also evolved now into sound.
The sound,
whereby now you have 8D, and some are even going to 12D, some are even going to 24D. So it's a different dynamics altogether, and a different ballgame altogether. That you're like, okay, is there something like that? But to somebody else who doesn't like, no, man, who needs this mic speaker?
Yeah, exactly. We don't appreciate this.
Yes, I can do, but only when you have experienced it. That's when you're like, no, this is a different ballgame altogether. It's the same experience whereby someone would say, why do I need to buy a 1 million rand car when 100,000 rand car can still take me to A to B. But when you get into a 1 million rand car, you realize that as much as we are going on the same direction, but there is a certain level of comfort and a certain level of detail and experience that is totally different from where I am and where I'm going. Hence, I was saying to you that at first when I said that when I was growing up, my whole idea was I want to get the best Sony sound because it's the best of the best. Or a Yamaha, and then you get into this industry and you're like thinking, so what amplifiers are we using? Which Yamaha brand are we using? I'm like, Yamaha, no, my guy. We're not using that. And you're like, what do you mean you're not using that? And it kind of like throws you off because in your head you think and then you realize like, actually I don't. And the sad part with this industry is they always say everything that you're learning now is valid for 24 hours. And you're like, what do you mean is valid for 24 hours?
Makes sense.
And then you're like, no, we are not saying that when you buy this, it's only going to work for 24 hours. We are saying,
there's always
as of today, this is the best. But in 24 hours' time, somebody can come up with something better.
You're right. Talking about that, because we once had, I don't know if maybe you've had a situation like this as well.
I have plenty of those.
Where you have to
I have plenty of those.
And then how's that process like? Because I'm also learning from my manager, right? He says that's painful as well.
Yes, it is, because you have already specced something and then 2 weeks. So here's the thing, like I was explaining to you that when you're building a house from scratch, 90% of the time when you're speccing stuff, it takes about 3 to 4 months just to do the cabling, right? And the client has already given you either deposit or already paid for the equipment to come. And then after 3 months, something else that is 5 times better than what you've already bought comes out. And the client is like, but why are you giving me old stuff? But you had already bought.
And the thing is, you actually need the new stuff so that at least it can be because some of the stuff they're not compatible.
Exactly. So now that's why now the issue that I was talking about, to say it's not nepotism or it's not being bribed, but you are working with brand that can expand and scale. There are certain brands whereby if something else new comes up, all they had to do is just run a new software.
Yes.
And then you upgrade. It fixes all the bugs, fixes all the things, then you are done. There are certain things now, take for example.
So when you say bugs, I know I might have just skipped. When you say bugs, is it something like, is it like a virus in this?
No, not a virus as such. So a bug could be a limitation, could be something that is not compatible or doesn't gel nicely. I'll give you an example of a bug that was there for a certain brand called Sonos. Sonos used to have a bug.
Sonos, is it for speakers?
Yes, it's an audio streaming service.
Yeah.
They used to have a bug, I think about a year ago, whereby if you're playing in different rooms, you can play, say for example, you can play song A in room number 1, song B in room number 3, song 3 in room number 4, and yet they are all interlinked to each other. But at the same time, you couldn't then ask room B and C to join room A.
Oh, I see.
So that all of the rooms can play the same song.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then they realized that, wait, this is actually a limitation. So they went and then upgraded their system, changed it, that nowadays you can actually then say, kill everything else in room A and B and join room B. So, and you don't even have to go to each room to say, close. You can still do it from your mobile phone without you actually having to do that. So it wasn't like it's a virus, it's just a bug whereby
I understand, yeah.
Where the more you use it, the more you're like, no man, they can actually improve on this. And then when they see that actually this is actually a limitation, let's fix it. So they just write a program to fix that particular problem and then they increase it. So that's how they ended up doing that. And then you have a situation whereby in terms of security, because most of their devices are all Wi-Fi or radio linked. So which means if this is linked to your house network, they become the weakest link on your whole security system, because if anyone can get into your Sonos system or into your system, they've got access into your whole house.
The whole house, yeah.
So when they realize, we need to up our security encryption. So they did a new software, upgraded it. The new software came up with the new improved security feature to keep that. So now you can't just log in through that because there's now a security feature. So those are the kind of bugs that I'm talking about, that some brands have got that software to upgrade. So I'll give you now a Sony. Hence, I don't have beef with Sony, but they create the best amplifiers. I think even up to now, to date, Sony has got the best amplifier housing and amplifier drive per se in terms of driving the actual music. But in terms of integration and working well with others, they are lagging behind. You see what I'm saying? That's why most people are now like, as much as I can drive it better, but I can't use it with other brands, then people don't want to work with you. So with that kind of a situation now, you have other brands like your Marantz,
Tronics,
your
Trinov,
or your Denons. Those are more or less like your high-end brands that are now out there in the market. All of these brands now, when you get them, all of them, they've got a built-in mini computer in them.
Oh, I see.
That will be able to say the video source that I'm being sent to, if it's coming from either Apple box, or it's coming from a DSTV, it's coming from a laptop, it's coming from a digital audio. That computer box will be able to decipher to say, okay, this sound that I'm getting is only made in stereo. So there's no need for me to play it in
4D
or in whatever. Because as much as I would want to try, I'm not going to be able to do it. If worse, I'm only going to distort the sound. Right? So because of that now, so even if the sound technology changes from 7.1 to 8.1 or to 9.1 to 10.1 to 12.1, all they have to do is just write a software to say there's now 7.1 upgrade. You see what I'm saying? Rather than before, anyone who's got a surround system or an amplifier that can only take stereo left and right.
Sure.
If you're watching a 7.1 movie, what are you going to do? You can't upgrade it.
Okay.
There's no software for it. Because the whole amplifier
it's hardwired.
It's hardwired to only do that.
So talking about hardwire, we're just talking about the houses where you have to upgrade them. I know you touched some stuff on that, right? So let's say maybe there's like conduiting, because I don't know, maybe sometimes the voltage that the old one used is not the same.
It's not the same.
Do you get those as well?
Yeah, we do.
So how does it work? So you have to like strip everything down in the house. And
so this is where now comes into play, like I'm saying, that you have different contractors coming in working with you. So when you do,
especially if there was a different contractor in the house,
when you're doing a site assessment, that's one of the designs that I was talking about. To say, part of the design, actually in the code, there's actually a designer's code that comes out before I start doing the work.
Okay.
To say, for me to design your house, this is my code. For me to design your house.
Yeah.
When you then say go ahead and do it, then my designer fee goes away. But if you take my design and go give it to A to do it, I still need to get paid because I've spent.
Which makes sense because it's more like you worked as a consultant.
Yes.
The answering is now you're answering my question. If you're so you guys are actually both.
Both. We are actually both. Yes. Because someone can say, listen, I want you to do A, B, C, D. And then I'll say, okay, let's do A, B, C, D. But at the end of the day, do I want D to be in this house, or I just want it to be on this spec?
Sure.
Then when you do it like that, then it comes out to be a totally different ballgame, because now you have specs that you have put in, but if you don't change those specs based on what's already on the house, it's not going to work. Because especially if it's a retrofit whereby you don't know whether these voltage wires that they've put in, or is my high voltage running parallel together with my low voltage? You can't put them in the same place. You have to separate them. Otherwise, if you don't separate them, you're going to have a lot of EMF, that's your electric magnetic field going in between and jumping in between each other, of which it defeats the whole purpose. So it makes it very, very difficult to actually work like that. So obviously, in a situation like that, you have to always separate to say, listen, I'm doing an assessment, what's in here, what can I use and what can I rip out? And I can tell you now, any house that has been built in the last 10 years, if you are to say, let's automate that house, I'd say 70% of that cable is going to come out because it's useless.
Because it's going to be compatible.
Yes, it's useless.
You know when you're saying that, every time I worked on a high-end house, I think I only worked on 2. And I realized I actually love working on high-end houses, but seems like my boss is not as excited all the time when he sees high-end houses.
Because especially, you see, high-end houses are good if you're working with them from scratch. Then it's easier because you're the one who's detecting what's going in.
But he says that it's also a problem because
it is.
There's a lot of details.
Yes.
So the way that he explains it is high-end houses, they are good, but you end up putting a lot of hours
for
the amount of money that you're going to get out of it. But they're actually good just to learn and some things. So it was like, okay, so right now I'm like a junior, so I don't really know much in terms of the whole design process, and I just know just basics. Okay, this is what you do, this is what you do there and there. But that's what he said. So in your case, is it the same thing? Because I'm speaking on an analytical. I'm speaking on an analytical point of view. Is it the same thing with you guys, where you or you guys actually get more money because since you guys are actually doing the wiring?
So you see, the reason why I'm saying it's easier to work from ground up is because, remember, before we do the ground up, I've sat with the client.
The design, yes.
The client has told me what they want. So I already know the client wants this. And because I already know what's going to go change in maybe 5 years' time, I put the provision for that. But if you come and give me a house that has already been done, I can't change it. You see what I'm saying? So I'll give you a scenario. Most of the houses that were done 10 years ago, they were using Cat 5 and Cat 5e.
I actually heard about that.
Yeah. Which means 10 years ago, the highest speed that you would get out of the internet was maybe 50 or 100 meg.
Sure.
Nowadays, you can get up to 10 to 1 gig. So which means the cabling that you had done then, thinking you are getting the highest speed, if I come and then change that house to a modern house now to say I want a 1 gig speed with the Cat 5e, no matter how much I try, I can't get that out because the Cat 5 can't carry that much. You see what I'm saying? So now, with that said, that means if your whole house is wired like that, that means it's even pointless for me to even give you the 1 gig to begin with. I might as well not, because you're not going to get it. You see what I'm saying?
True.
You're not going to get it. So which means all of that.
Take out all the wires.
Exactly. Take out all the wires and
you find a contractor who put wires and they didn't cable them, and there's no cable tie.
There's nothing, or the conduit is only from here to the ceiling. And once it's in the ceiling,
it's the spider web.
And you're like, yo, I remember we once went to a house in Bishop's Court. It's a huge house. It had a ceiling that you can walk in and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So the contractors, so you have your old telephone cables, old alarm cables, old TV cables, old internet cables. They are all in that ceiling space. And then we are there, we want to automate this whole entire house. We walk into the ceiling, we have tons of cables. You don't know which one is still in use and which one is not in use.
Yeah.
So we just said, you know what? All the cable that is in this house, let's rip everything out. Told the client, you can't stay here for the next coming 3 months. Go somewhere, do something. Lucky enough for that particular client, they had a holiday home somewhere. So they said, you know what? We can't go away for 3 months. We can give you a month.
Ooh.
So we were given a month to repull this whole entire house.
So you guys are actually doing like overwork and overtime. Yeah.
Overtime and everything. So this whole entire house is, mind you, it's completed, plastered, everything. So you can't say, guys, let's chase. No, you can't chase. It's done.
Because it's a house.
It's a house. It's done.
Yeah.
So we had to work with whatever is there, you know. So pull out all the non-existing cables, all the cables that were there. It took us almost a month with a team of 16 people going there every day for a month to say, okay, you guys cater for the west wing, you guys cater for the south wing, you guys cater for the outside perimeters, you guys cater for this. But it ended up coming all together. But again, it's all to do with the design. Because you can't pull cables if the design is not correct.
Sure.
You can't pull cable if you don't know what the client's expectation is. You can't pull cable if you don't know what brand and equipment you're going to use.
Yeah.
So that's why for that it's easier. But now when you have a situation whereby the house is being built up, the client says, okay, guys, we are building a house. It's going to take 2 years to build. But in this house, there's a cinema that is coming in. You can't spec for the cinema at the beginning of the project. You have to spec the cinema at the end of the project because the equipment is going to change. So imagine the house is going to take a year or two to build. If I buy the latest, give an example, the latest Apple TV now, that's probably going to be maybe, say, your high definition.
Sure.
But in a year from now, that high definition is now a 4K. That means you are sitting with an Apple TV that is worth X amount of money, but on today's value, it's useless, though it's still in a box.
Yeah, yeah.
You see, even though it's still in a box sealed, but it's not useless. It doesn't matter that you bought it then when it was very expensive, but today it's now useless.
Yeah.
So that is the greatest challenge that we have in the industry because of that.
Yeah, which makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only greatest disadvantage that we have. And also even with the client.
You work, as we are speaking, I'm remembering, is it Legrand? You work
Legrand.
Legrand. You work with Legrand as well?
Yes, we work with Legrand as well.
Okay.
So, and then now you're sitting with the situation.
And Legrand is for the light switches, right?
Light switches,
Okay,
yeah. So there's a few brands that uses the light switches, but Legrand has got more smoother finish than most other brands. Hence, they are also a bit pricey, but their finish is a lot better than most other brands, and most of their products are a bit solid as well in terms of functionality and use. So you always, like I said, you always want to go with a brand that you know is going to give you the best outcome and the best results afterwards. As much as you can say, but I can get one from builders for a cheaper price.
CBI.
Yeah, so you can still get it at builders for a cheaper price.
Sure.
But in terms of the look and finish that you are trying to attain afterwards, you will need to go with a brand that you can trust. Then at least you can be able to say, okay, cool, I can go with this brand. So with all of that, it comes into play now to say, which brand do I use? And how much time do I have? So you need a brand that is consistency. So even you, like, say, for example, you are building a house now, then you know, even if I sell them a 2022 Samsung model TV, you know that model TV in 2 years' time is still be current.
Sure.
You don't want a model that when you try and say update software, like, no, my friend, you're on the latest software. And you're like, you're on the latest software when you are 20 years old. How is that latest? You know what I mean? Sure. How is that latest? You know, so that's why now the different brands comes into play to say, okay, I want a brand that I can upgrade. I want a brand that can go to the next level.
Sure. Without
you going all out to go and rip out everything and buy new things. So the key is always to make sure that you have a brand that you can always upgrade, a brand that you can always sell with it, or a brand that you can always manipulate. That's why even one of the key issues that a lot of people didn't want to use Windows and Apple in programming and preferred to use Ubuntu as a software to program with is because it was an open source software, that you can manipulate and you don't have monopoly over that. Yes. So it's the same thing also in the industry, that there are certain brands that have got a certain monopoly, but nowadays there are certain brands that are also coming up with the same thing.
Sure.
Like look at Netflix, for example. Netflix had the biggest monopoly in streaming services for a good 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
But now you have HBO, Disney. You have Disney.
Disney is actually coming in now,
You have Brexit, you have all of this. But Netflix, he was the monopoly of everything. And
you can actually see it in
exactly
like TVs.
On TVs.
They have their own thing there.
Exactly.
Even Amazon Prime.
Yes. And now you've got Amazon Prime that is also there. So now you have all those people that are saying, listen, dude, as much you were a monopoly then, you're no longer a monopoly now. Same applies with companies. There are a lot of companies that are also in the industry now that are trying to have the monopoly of the industry. But you have also young companies like me who's starting up, who's saying, okay, as much as you are a monopoly of the industry, there's also me who can contribute to that. And because if you're complacent with that monopoly, there are young people who are starting up who can actually come and overtake you without you even knowing.
Yeah.
So it's like you always have to evolve. Hence the 24 hours, because just because you've done something good 24 hours ago doesn't mean that 24 hours later is the best.
Sure.
Because today could be the best, but tomorrow is no longer the best because something else has come up.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to then say, listen, guys, as much as I want to spec this is good today. Tomorrow I can come and say you whatever I spec'd for you yesterday, there's something else better.
Sure.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that I've given you second hand or I've given you inferior equipment. It's just that the equipment is evolving every day. And if you want to try and keep up with the times, you're going to be changing equipment.
Almost all the time.
Almost all the time. It's like your phones. Every year there's a new brand of phone. But does that mean that the brand that you have last year doesn't work? No, it still works, but there are a few changes that they've done.
Sure.
Same applies with equipment. The equipment still works, but it's just that there are a few changes that they've done. And there's a few accommodation that they've done in terms of accommodating people who do vlogs, people who do pictures, and people who
trying to catch up with the times.
Trying to catch up with the time, but doesn't necessarily mean that a person who has last year's phone cannot use it anymore or cannot work with it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just now out of preference to say, do I want to upgrade or am I still comfortable or I don't need to have that? That's where the brands comes into play now to say, I've got this brand that can do this, I've got this brand that can do that.
Yeah.
Then it comes into play.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I just want to, because I think we've been talking for almost 2 hours now.
And we had said we're doing 45 minutes.
45 minutes to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you know, most of the time, maybe I'll tell you this off mic.
Yeah.
So, with that said, right, because I feel like someone is listening to this conversation and then their mind is like all over the show and they're actually excited, right? So what did you study? So that they can know which subjects should they study and how to. So
with home automation, the key fundamental studies that anyone who wants to get into home automation, your background, you should always have networking because you need to understand networking because, like I said, everything is interlinked.
Is it like computer
networking?
Or
no, computer networking.
Computer networking,
yes,
okay.
Not computer science, computer networking.
Now I wanted to make sure because I really know about computer science.
Computer networking.
Sure.
Computer science gives you a broader background.
Sure. Which
but you need to be able to focus on that. I've done computer science. I've got a degree in computer science.
Sure.
But do I use it? When I went to school, we used to use programming with C++.
Okay.
I can tell you now, there's not even one thing that I do that is good
using C++.
Using C+ anymore.
Exactly.
So it's like, and back then C+ was the thing.
It was.
And I mean, I left varsity
because I also used C++, but I mean, like it was just like first year programming.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was like 2003 when we finished. So you can imagine C+ then was the thing. I remember C+, when we were doing C++, we did the rider system for navigation.
Sure.
And it was amazing. Now you're thinking, what the hell were we doing? I mean, this thing was taking forever. It was taking forever. I remember people were coding sleepless nights. But
if this does this,
and now remembering the syntax, semicolon means this, and you're like thinking, guys, really?
Sure.
But computer science gives you a certain background for you to understand what you are doing and to understand how everything is linked. Computer networking makes you understand and allows you to actually work and synergize everything to work together.
Sure.
And then you have your engineering part allows you now to have the whole synergy of how does everything work. Otherwise, if you don't have how the knowledge of how everything works, it won't work.
Sure.
So you need to have that whole synergy to come together to say, listen, as much as I have computer science and as much as I have electronic background, because imagine, like you were asking me now, you are working with high voltage that is 240, and then the 240 is controlling a device that is 5 volts.
Yeah.
So how do you control a 5 volt device with 240 without blowing it up?
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? And it's when you look at it, you might think, it's simple, just put a step down transformer. No,
Sure.
it's not that simple. You can't just put a step down, because you now have to use relays to open and close, relays so for example, like I was giving you an example of a door,
Sure.
that when the door is closed, the relay needs to know, okay, the door is actually closed, so how do I open it? So you have to have variables to say, okay, if the variable is closed, how do I open it? You have to program it, okay, if it's open, do this, if it's closed, do this. So all of that comes again with the programming and all of that, and the networking to make sure that it works integrated and all of that. So I would say there isn't a specific course that anyone can do that allows you to
enter into the market.
You have to have passion for this. It's not something.
But at least computer networking gets you into.
Yes, computer networking gets you to understand how things are working.
Sure.
And I always laugh when people ask me to say, how do you know how to tune the sound or to tune the equipment to give you the best sound experience?
Sure.
I can teach a 5-year-old. I've got a nephew, Noah. He's about 6 years old. I can teach him to control an amplifier. He will control it. But I can never teach Noah how to use or to hear the music.
Oh, yeah, I see.
That's where it gets tricky. So now, how do you learn to hear that? It takes experience, it takes time, whereby you now have to say, listen, okay, this is my bass, yes. This is my treble, yes. This is my mid, yes. But what am I hearing?
Sure.
That's where it comes into play. I can teach anyone to use a mixer.
Sure.
Anyone. And you'll be able to know what to do with it. But if you don't know how to hear the music, you can't use it. Because you can increase the treble, but what are you hearing?
Yeah.
Same applies with the home automation industry. I know that I'm supposed to open that door.
Sure.
But how do I open it? You see what I'm saying? So the networking gets you in, but as you go, you would find, just like I was talking to you about the Trinov, the Trinov, knowing how to use the Trinov, it's a 6 weeks course just to use it and just to program it. To program it and to configure it. It's a 6 weeks course. And you're thinking, but it's just an amplifier. I'm putting volume in. Yeah, for you it's just an amplifier, but for me to tell that amplifier to do what it's supposed to do, I need to be able to know the back end of that whole system.
Sure.
So the whole,
and that means you kind of like have to be on your toes and
exactly.
That's
why I'm saying that there isn't a course that I can
what you know only lasts you for 24 hours.
Exactly. There's no course that I can say go and study this and you'll be able to do it. No, because everything is always evolving. Everything is always evolving. So, like I remember when we started, we used to use IR benders in terms of to put that big eye in front of the TV to change the channel for DSTV.
Oh,
nowadays you don't use that because you're using infrared and you don't even have to have it. Nowadays you can change it via the network. So you write a code to the network and the TV gets told.
TV's number one means it's
this one.
Number
Exactly.
two is this one,
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So all of that has evolved, but back then we used to have that big red eye in front of the TV that flashes to say, "Oh yeah, I'm changing the channel."
Yeah.
And then you're like,
and
every time you
press it, always clicks. Yeah.
And then like, "Oh wow, I'm changing the channel, but the TV, the decoder is there." But you see, then it was the best. Nowadays, like I'm saying, you can do it via the network cable or via the network infrastructure. So all of that comes into play, and you can't say you can learn that because all of that, when that changes, you have to learn new things. I'll give you another perfect example. DSTV. When DSTV started, used to use what we call then a universal cable. Now you have a DSTV Explorer that doesn't use a universal cable. It now uses what we call a unicable.
Okay.
And then the old DSTV Explorers used to have 3 pins, one for input, one for output, and one for heartbeat communication.
Okay.
Nowadays, all the DSTV, all the communication is done on the LNB. You're like, what? How come? But because the technology is evolving, nowadays, again, DSTV now has built-in Netflix, built-in YouTube, built-in Prime, built-in streaming services.
YouTube, everything.
YouTube. Yeah. So once you have your decoder, you don't even need to buy anything else extra because everything is built in. So if you are stuck with knowing what you knew 10 years ago,
especially in your industry,
in my industry, today you are irrelevant, you're useless because the technology has evolved. So it's like every day of my time I dedicated to 1 hour of learning new things. So every day when I go home, what's new on the market? Okay, cool, there's this new thing. All right, cool, how do I make this work with what I already have? So you'd find at home, I always have either a new product that is on the market, testing it. No, this product doesn't actually work. You put it aside. Okay, let's test this one. Actually, this one actually has good features. Okay, cool, I can use this. So you can't exactly say there's one specific course that you can do that will help you to go that. But the key ones, your basic electronics, knowing what is positive and negative.
What's a diode?
What is a diode? What's a transistor? What's a capacitor? What's a relay? Just your basic electronics will get you in. Your basic networking.
So which means basically, even with electrical engineering, I can actually
yes,
but more on the electronic
side. Yes, okay, exactly. Okay. And then it's, at least you have a stepping stone. You see what I'm saying? You have a stepping stone. Can you teach someone from scratch? Funny enough, you can. You can teach someone from scratch. It's just an issue of how willing are you, because there's tons of books to read.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe we can just also, because I see it now, it's actually, we can actually go to 3 hours. I mean, I remember we have so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
But it seems like I feel like this at least has done justice to someone's going to listen to this and they're kind of trying to understand the electrical engineering.
That's correct.
And your
sphere of work.
Your field. Yes. So it gives them an idea. I had one question, but I don't know if I should slide it in. But let me just.
No, you can give it to me. I'll try and answer it as quickly as possible.
Okay. Let me just ask the question. In terms of the team that you work with, right? Would you say that there is like favorite guys that you like working with the most?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, let's say for example, you would say that I like working with architects the most. But I know with the few times we worked, we're like architects. Sometimes they're just too fussy because we are more like a man. They are more like a lady.
Yeah.
Because they are into details.
Yes.
And we're like, guys, don't please don't mess up with what we want to do.
Yes.
So, in terms of a team of professionals that you work with, who do you prefer working with?
So it's not an issue of who. So here's the thing: it's not an issue of who do you prefer working with, because remember, at the end of the day, we are trying to achieve a goal.
One thing,
There's no point in having the best equipment in the house if the house is looking shabby.
Sure.
Right. So hence it's like working. The reason why I kept going back to say you need to have a network of teams that you work with. So for example, if you know the type of architecture that you're working with, and if you've worked with them and you know how they think and how they behave and what are their expectations, it's easier to work around them and maneuver around them.
Sure.
And vice versa, they'll also know that, okay, we are working with this guy. This is what he wants. This is what he wants. I remember we used to always fight with electricians, because you say to an electrician, I want 4 points, 4 conduits going to a TV point. You're like, why do you need 4 points to a TV point? It's one TV.
They don't know that there's going to be data.
Exactly. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Because
sure.
they're talking from their own perspective to say, I can have my earth, my neutral, and my live in one pipe. Why do you need 4 pipes? And I'm saying to them, okay, I need a pipe for data, I need a pipe for HD, I need a pipe for terrestrial, and I need a pipe for RIF. And they're like, but why can't you put all of them in one? And then you're like, no, I can't, because this one is carrying different voltages.
You can't mix fire detection and
exactly
and lighting.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, but now when you work with people that you have worked with and they know your end results, it makes it a whole lot easier to say, okay, cool, this is what we want to work with. Because like you were saying, people are like, no, we've got a fire detection switch there. Why we've got one conduit? Why can't we just put everything there? You can't.
Yeah, definitely.
Same applies. I'm not going to put my power in the same cable that my Wi-Fi is going to go. It can't, because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Same applies with HD. So you then find that, okay, cool, I've worked with this architect. This architect knows what I want. I've worked with this joiner, knows exactly what I want. I've worked with this ceiling guy, knows exactly what I want. Because there's some guys who do ceilings and they'll put grids like 2 centimeters away from each other. But it's not practical when you want to put a downlight in the ceiling, because now you have to put a downlight here, but when you go 2 rows down the road, or you find that the same line where it is, you can't put the downlight there because there's another grid that is going across. So, but now when you work with them to say, listen, I've got a light here and a light there and a light there. When they are putting in the ceiling, they already have an idea of where you're putting your lights, and they'll work around you so that when you put your lights, when you see them, all of them are in sync. Same applies with my speakers. When I put my speakers in the ceiling, when I look at them, they're all in sync.
Sure.
So it's an issue of getting the right people to work with and knowing exactly that this is what I want to achieve, and also knowing what the architecture wants to achieve. Then when you work together, you'll be able to then produce a better result.
There you go, guys. Me and Vincent, we won't finish talking.
True.
And we won't finish talking.
And we were supposed to finish, guys.
Yeah, that was 45 minutes ago, yeah. I mean, thank you so much, Vincent, for coming through. I really appreciate it.
No, pleasure.
And you've just made it worth it. I love it. I actually love it. I don't know, my guests, some of the time, they actually don't like going over like an hour. Some of them, they actually do enjoy it. They're like, oh, we're done just like that. So even me now, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm just cutting it off. So if you're listening to this, I'm definitely going to have Vincent back. Because what's this? There's actually a lot that we can talk about. There's actually a lot. There's a lot.
We've only scratched the surface.
We only talked about the professional side of things.
Yeah, we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, so it's always a pleasure to have you, Vince. But at least this felt, because the thing is, what I've noticed about the Steger podcast, I had a lawyer last time, right? Yeah. And I'm seeing myself how I'm actually understanding most of the stuff. So the podcast is actually informing me.
Nice.
So to kind of like learn from different people. So I feel like even as time goes on, at least it will give me a chance to kind of like know a lot about many things. When I was listening to Ishmael in one of the podcasts, he was saying that there was this other guy. He said that I don't know. I'm not an expert in many things, but I know almost everything about anything.
True.
And that's Vincent. He knows he knows something about everything. If you ask Vincent, he's not clueless about anything. And thank you so much, man. Until we have another one.
No, pleasure to have you.
Oh, with that said, is there anything that you maybe want to say to the listeners, or if you want to sell your product or what you do?
Not really. I think one of the things that I can just say is don't be scared to go out there and be on your own. It might be hard in the beginning, but don't be scared. Go out there, make the change that you want to change. Take that bold step, and always make relationships. The key to successful in this industry or in any industry right now is all to do with relationships. You have to build key relationships, key networks that will be able to push you forward, because you never know who's going to open the door for you. If you don't have a relationship with them, you need to have relationships. Otherwise, if you don't have relationships, some doors they'll never open for you, because you need somebody who knows somebody to open that door for you. And if you don't know that particular person, they'll never know what you're capable of. You might be the brilliant scientist, the brilliant engineer, brilliant hairdresser, brilliant mechanic, but if no one knows that you can do it, no one is going to refer you. You can advertise all you want, you can put billboards all you want, but we're living in an industry where there is 200 service stations in the one line. You have 200 supermarkets in the one line.
True.
What makes you stand out is the person who refers you. So that's where, even for me, people always ask me, how did you get into this house? Because no one is going to walk in and say, my guy, I want you to do my 56 million rand house. You're thinking, I don't even have 56 million myself. So, but it's who refers you to it.
Sure.
And your work ethic as well. You just need to make sure that your work ethic is also good, so that at least when you are working, your ethic is great. People should be proud to say, listen, your work should speak for you, per se. And then once your work speaks for you, you will realize that you don't even have to do any advertising or any Facebook to say, hey guys, come support me, come support your brother, come support your brother. Your work will take you places. My pastor always says, your gift will make room for you and to put you in places where you've never been. So your work ethic is good, and your relationships with people, because you're going to need everybody that you meet in life. Imagine, I always laugh, like I was saying, that I've met Shepard almost a year ago. Imagine on that site that we met, I was nasty to him, or he was nasty to me.
Yeah.
And then 1 year later we meet and we end up in the same church, in the same It would have been an interesting. It would have been an interesting situation, So be kind to everyone, even though you might not know that Shepard was there, and now he's a millionaire. I'm like, hey Vince, I know you can do this. I want you to do this for me. And because you have that relationship, you can actually go far. But if you start treating people like, what is this person? What is this person? Or this little student that I'm seeing here, it's you'll be amazed that little student that you're laughing at, or that little gardener that you're laughing at, or that guard that you're laughing at, that guard has got a phone number to the owner of the building. And you'd one day want to say, this building needs security. Like, yes, I was telling my boss, let me call my boss and tell them that you want to do this. And then you get a contract because the guard who's guarding the premises, he has just given you the number of the owner of the building. And you'll be like, I couldn't have gotten this from the PA, from the secretary, but the guard has it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So relationships, my take home for everyone who's listening is, make sure that relationship, you build a whole lot of networking and keep learning, because in any industry that anyone is in, there's new techniques of doing it faster, smoother, quicker. So keep learning and you go far. Because the moment you stop learning, you have just killed yourself. So yeah, that's my take home.
Awesome. As you're saying that, I just also remembered something that if you also want to understand a bit more about also the beginning of what we're talking about, you can listen to a podcast by me and Sive Maheshane. She's a quantity surveyor. So they deal, it's another world as well. So just check it out. And just like Vincent said, he said, let's say we have meaningful relationships, and that's the way to go. Even building character as well, work ethic, work hard. So yeah, to my fellow professionals, see you later. I said good night, good day, good evening.
Good night.